Hello again, this is Andrew from TennisWorld, and I'm talking today with Elizabeth Kaye, who's the author of Zen and the Art of Rafael Nadal. The fact that we're talking together shows that Federer and Nadal fans can get along pretty well together. And you followed Rafael for 2 years or so now.
Oh, I've followed him since 2004.
Okay, so what got you interested in his game?
I really got interested before getting interested in his game. I got interested in his spirit. And I think that's true of a lot of fans. I think a lot of Rafa fans saw him play and saw this amazing amount of spirit and soul in that game. And they're drawn first to the spirit and next to the game. And that was certainly the way it was for me.
Okay, and so having seen him play in 2004, 2005, you started getting interested in him from a journalistic point of view.
I was interested really first as a fan. And I watched him and I thought, this kid just has something that nobody else has. I'm a ballet writer as well.
Oh, okay.
And there was something incredibly balletic about his game and also about his spirit. I always found it interesting, by the way. They always liken Federer to Grishnikov.
Exactly.
But to me, Rafa is Muriel. He is this Dionysian of the earth kind of figure. And I just think he brings this whole other sensibility and sense of excitement as well. So I got caught up in that. And then I began to feel, this is my story. I have to write about this guy. And it took a long time, but I was finally able to do it.
Okay, so you and I first met in 2008.
Right.
But you didn't write the story then, did you?
No, that's when I first watched him and observed him and saw things about him. And he was building his game. He was leading into that incredible, what would be the greatest year of his life. Then last year, I came back to this tournament and I interviewed him. I played ping pong with him and interviewed him.
Okay.
And
did you win?
Oh. You know, when I started playing, it was really interesting. He was hitting so gently to me that my first thoughts were, my God, I'm a better ping pong player than Nadal. And then I suddenly realized that I was not. And I learned something even playing ping pong with him about him, because at one point I just said, oh God, I'm just wasting his time, I've got to stop. And I hit a bad ball and I said, that's it. And he said, no, can't stop on a bad ball.
Okay.
And we kept playing.
Right.
And I thought that is, he reveals himself, I feel, repeatedly. And to me, it's terribly moving. I don't think it was ever more moving than it was after the French. And when he lost. And here he is, a 22-year-old kid with the most devastating loss of his life. And what does he say? He says, you need a loss to give value to your victories.
Yes.
And I found that so deeply moving and yet so incredibly emblematic of what it is that I and so many millions of people love about it.
Now, it's interesting that you highlight a defeat, but then you also talk about the fact that that came at the tail end of what was a magnificent year. I mean, he won Roland Garros in 2008, which was not unexpected with what happened before.
But then the way he won it was unexpected.
But then he went on to win Wimbledon and the Australian Open.
And the Olympics.
And the Olympics. What did you take away? What did you take away from Wimbledon?
Wimbledon was watching somebody own a dream. I thought it was the most incredible match, and the end of it, when he walked with the flag draped around his shoulders. And it wasn't just his play, it was the refusal finally to lose. He refused. He had gone through such agony, and all the stories about him at the end of the 2007 Wimbledon, of him weeping in the shower, sobbing in his house like a wounded animal, all of these stories were fresh, certainly in my mind, and I assume much more so in his.
Yes.
And for him to win that it was beautiful, but I honestly think he revealed himself most in the defeat. Because I think what he showed in the defeat, the very important thing is, there's more than one way to be a champion.
Okay.
And that I found incredibly moving. Over and over again, he has moved people. I often think he's one of the few athletes who would have been of equal interest to Fitzgerald and Hemingway. He just has that combination of absolute macho and, strut and motion and fist pump and everything, along with this incredibly poetic nature.
All right.
And you don't see that.
So it sounds like the Nadal inspires in you a connection that is really at the visceral level.
It is visceral. It's absolutely visceral. But I think seems to me that your connection to Federer is visceral, perhaps in another way, but visceral too.
Yes, I'm not sure that I got attracted so much by the spiritual aspects of seeing Federer play. The first time for me was watching him play in Houston in 2004, and I only actually got to see one game, but when I saw him warming up, he tossed a ball to hit a serve, and I just thought that it was one of the most beautiful actions that I've ever seen. So, although I'm 50 years old and a married man, I think that there's a certain connection to beauty, something that David Foster Wallace brought out in his famous 2006 article on Federer.
Federer is a religious experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I've never really, I think, felt close to God by watching Federer, but I have felt closer to seeing someone do something about as perfectly as it could be done.
But you see, that I think is the difference between Federer and Nadal fans. I think Federer fans are drawn first to his game and then to him.
Right.
I think it's the opposite with Nadal fans. I think the connections start to him and then to his game.
Okay.
And I think it's, but I also think I could write a Foster Wallace type piece. Rafael Nadal is a religious experience.
Okay.
Because it really is a spiritual experience watching somebody. See, I don't think he has, I mean, certainly according to his Uncle Tony, his coach, he doesn't have the ability of a Federer, but he has this incredible will and hunger and intent on the court. And yet, it wouldn't be as impressive as it is if he were off the court just this macho guy strutting around. It's that contrasted with this incredible gentleness of spirit. You know, the guy who could win the Australian Open in a situation that nobody thought he could possibly win. It was Federer's in the bag. Everybody thought that there had never been more advantage for a player in a Grand Slam than Federer had in that, and go and win that. And then Federer breaks down, and what does Rafa do? He puts his arm around him and he says, remember, you are a great champion.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was, to me, I mean, those are the moments. So it's not just the, you know, the banana passes and stuff that are just, oh my God moments. There are a lot of oh my God moments with Rafa that have to do with who he is.
Okay. And, you know, one of the things that we find on TennisWorld is the people start to mix it up if they're Nadal fans or Federer fans. My guy is better than your guy. Do you think it's possible to be a fan of both at the same time?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I really don't. I think that, again, to go back to the Baryshnikov-Nureyev analogy, people who loved Baryshnikov really thought Nureyev was just a clod, and people who loved Nureyev thought Baryshnikov was just an athlete.
Right.
And it really is an aesthetic preference that is ingrained in you. Do you like red or green? You can't like both. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. It's that disparate. And I also think because they're rivals for so long in such an intense way. I mean, I know very few people who like both, and when I meet someone who likes both, I'm quite suspect of them, frankly, because I just think, here's a person who doesn't have within them some kind of roiling passion, or you would prefer one or the other.
Okay. So it's a bit like a house divided against itself cannot stand, or a man cannot be the servant of two masters. You can't be your masters can't be Federer or Nadal. You've got to pick or Federer and Nadal. You've got to pick one or the other.
Well, until you put Djokovic in the mix, and then, as you once told me, a great line, that Novak Djokovic uniting Federer and Nadal fans since 2007, and that is the one person who has put Rafa and Federer fans, I think, on the same side. I think we all like to see him lose. You know.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to go up there saying that I like to see Djokovic lose so much as I prefer to see Federer win.
Well, that's a nicer way to say it.
I think that's the way I'll phrase it.
Well, that may be the difference between a Nadal and a Federer fan, is the phrasing, you know.
You never know. So, well, thanks for this. It's been fun. It's been fun visiting with you each year since 2008. And Nadal's still in the tournament. Federer, unfortunately, disgraced himself against Baghdadis. So we'll see if Nadal makes it through again.
Well, let's hope he does.
There you go. Thanks very much.
Thank you.